All right, y'all. Got a very special two-part show today for you guys. As you saw in the thumbnail, Cowboys and Longhorns. Nobody better to unpack both of those with you than my guy right here. We're going to skip the pleasantries for y'all because, as we're also going to discuss here in a little bit, this dude, it just goes to show you how much I respect his opinion and how much I'm not the only one who also feels the same way. This guy works a full 9 to 5, and then he goes on, he gets home, unpacks, unwinds, maybe gets him a little bite to eat, and then he's got 3 different shows that he's recording in the sports media world. This is the third of which. Okay, so we're gonna try to move through this quickly because I do respect his time, and I'm gracious, or I'm grateful, I should say, for my guy here. So, like I said, we'll skip the pleasantries. We're both doing well, maybe a little bit tired on Steven's end, but I will not skip the opportunity just to pay respects and say thank you to one of the OGs, the OG actually of Texas Longhorns content production on the YouTube space, and a guy who honestly, there's probably one of 3 people, the other that you guys have seen on this channel before being Hunter Sands. He gave me the confidence to kind of go and start this thing, but Steven here gave me the platform. He was the first person that went out of his way to give me a voice on a much bigger platform than I felt like I deserved at that time. So that's why he's here. I respect him as much as anybody as far as just ball-knowing football conversations go. So, Steven, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for your time again. I know it's been a long day for you, but
no, I appreciate you, brother. Well, hey, I love you, man, and well deserved, and happy to be here. Let's talk ball, man. What we do best.
So that's all we know, really. So I'm gonna get these banners pulled up here to kind of help me. And I see you in the chat, Jake, Riley. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank y'all so much, man. Hit that like button for us to help kind of pump this out so other people know where to come for the best, the most, let's just call it like it is, all-encompassing objective assessment, a mid-season status check on the Texas Longhorns and the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, we're going to start the first part of this, as given that you guys, the majority of my platform right now is on the YouTube side of things, it's Cowboys centric. So we're going to spend the first half of this show here. We're going to try to keep it to 30 and 30, and then the first half will be Cowboys, the second half will be Longhorns. But I'm going to start right here, Steven, because there's been, over the course of the bye week, I know you took a little vacation, a little getaway, a little unwind, R&R time. And I think you said you were actually flying during the Lions game. So the good Lord did you a favor there, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I was in the wedding.
You were in the wedding during.
I was in the wedding. I was a groomsman in that wedding. So
okay. So
and it was a
either way, the Lord was
fan.
looking out for you.
It was a Commanders fan who was getting married. So he actually bailed me out, and he didn't realize it. He thought he was being a you-know-what by having his wedding during the kickoff, but it ended up turning out that my eyes didn't witness what y'all saw real time. So the emotion was removed when I went back and, saw what took place. But yeah,
it was ugly, man. And just to, you know how, like, this is four home games in a row now, right? Either 3 of the 4 40+ points, the fourth of which, the one that wasn't a 40-point output or an allowance.
The Ravens game,
they ran it for damn near 300 yards down your throats. So it's been embarrassing, and that's probably putting it lightly. A team that was undefeated at home last year is now all of a sudden 0 for their last 4 in the same building. There's all kinds of stuff floating around. Like, it seems like most of Cowboys Nation can't even focus right now, or can't even direct their attention to a game in every season that I can recall being a fan of this team and covering this team, and even dating back to well before I was even alive. Like, this was the matchup.
Right.
But now we have to talk about Jerry Jones saying that, and I quote, "The plays are bad." That's probably paraphrasing, but it was something to that tune. The plays are bad. Look, that's third grader. That's fourth grade football jargon right there.
That's your GM saying that.
That's the owner and general manager of the most valuable sports franchise in the world. Okay. As if the lame duck situation, which we're also going to unpack in just a moment as well, isn't already enough with basically not only Mike McCarthy, but your entire coaching staff on a 1-year contract. It's just, it's out of tune, out of touch. It's disrespectful. It's embarrassing. I mean, really, it's country club is what it is. Okay. Now I do want to also say this, okay? We're 3-3 right now. As bad as things have felt, yes, the Cowboys are still 3-3. They're still undefeated in their division. They are still have everything in front of them, just like our Texas Longhorns do. People are a little tripping, for lack of a better term, on that front as well. All right, but this is where I want to start, Stephen. Right here. Jerry drama. We've kind of touched on a little bit of it. Not to mention, we've got our field goal kicker now who has been
jury duty,
coming for jury duty, and I believe a domestic violence case.
He made the jury too.
He made it. Yeah, like he qualified. Like he is.
Like they couldn't. I don't. Have you ever done jury duty before?
One time.
Did you make the jury, or did the case go for it? You made it. I made it too. The one time I did it. It's not an easy process. Like
no,
there's a lot of vetting.
Yeah.
That is wild to me that they could not get some type of exemption or something, considering, like, anyway, go ahead, Lando.
Even if you couldn't, though, like, even if the appeal or whatever wouldn't be enough, all you got to do is just act a fool for a second in front of the defense team or something. Like, say something crazy and they'll be like, okay,
this guy's too leaning this way.
Get him up out of here.
Yeah.
But neither here nor there. The best, one of the most important weapons on the roster this year so far is expected to be active. It's not expected to be, cause him to miss any time, but at the very least, it's insult to injury for a team that's already no stranger to distractions. Like, we can't even. We're 8 minutes into the show right now, and we haven't even talked about football yet. That's embarrassing. That's a shame.
But that's the Cowboys culture.
That's the Cowboys. Yeah. So thumbnails, people familiar with my channel, man, you've seen, and especially recently, kind of coming in waves. But Country Club, you see it a lot, right? Because that's really, if you really want to boil it down into its simplest form, that's what it is. And now we're having discussions about people on site, man, going on tours and things. And this is not the first time this is surfaced.
No, Dalton Schultz brought this up last season.
It happened earlier this offseason, and then it's happening again now. So how you see the ticker, okay?
Yeah.
How confident are you right now, just knowing everything that we know, everything that's been unfolding, that winning is the most important thing to the Joneses or the Dallas Cowboys right now? Where are you at with that?
I'm not confident that winning is the most important thing to the Joneses. I'm going to answer that straight up. Yeah. I think winning is within their sphere of business and what they want to push forward as a commodity to stay relevant. You have to win enough to stay relevant. You have to win enough, right? They can't be like they were in the Campo years where they were like 5-11 every year, right? Like, that's not going to do it. But they're there but in terms of the priority, right? From the top down, from the highest of level of your organization down to your practice squad, down to your janitorial services, the priority should be winning, right? A winning culture, a winning mindset. Landon, you're the biggest person I know on mental, right? Mentality and psychology. There's a psychology in the building of ego, right? And it starts from the owner, and it's been there, like you said, from probably before many people were born. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was from when I was probably 5-6 years old, the last time they were very competitive in terms of actually winning Super Bowls, because of credit, right?
Right.
Not because of anything else, not because of something that was harmful to Dallas or harmful to the organization or harmful to players, but the person that owns this team and that runs this organization didn't feel the love that they wanted. And it was more important that they individually got that personal validation than whatever it takes, right? Yep. I don't think that the Hunt family in Kansas City cares whether or not people give them credit. They want to win.
They clearly don't, because most people don't know who the Hunt family is. You know what I'm saying? How many owners can the average, let's just say Cowboys fan, or actually, you know what? Let's expand it. How many owners can the average NFL football fan name outside of Bob Kraft, Jerry Jones?
Yeah.
Maybe Davis. You might get a few Davises. You might get a few Hunts because the Chiefs are
winning every year.
Fans are very obviously very familiar. That's not what I'm saying. But point being, man, it's Jerry Jones is really good at what he does. For one of his 2 titles, as an owner, he's the best in the world because it's about sales, it's about marketing, it's about storylines, narratives, clicks, views. He's got all that down to the T, right? And so let's dig a little bit deeper in why sort of this question is coming up, right? Because there's also the rant and the rampage, for lack of a better term, that he went on with 105 Through the Fan, the radio station rampage is what I've been referring to it as. There's a lot of distractions. Okay, now let's talk about why. So for me, I had to come to terms with, it was difficult for me to do this, but I had to come to terms with the Cowboys, like seeing it for what it was. Okay. So I think and this is how we learn and we grow as evaluators and just as football people, right? Yeah. I went, okay, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. And then I looked even harder than I did the offseason prior, whenever I was getting excited about a new system that will potentially help out the quarterback in the running game, which, as we're going to talk about in a second, has not happened. It's actually gone backwards. I'm looking at the roster and my message all offseason long, Steven. I did a 16 weeks in a row, 1 video per week of what I called the postmortem series after the debacle of Green Bay in the postseason, right? The thing the phrase you would have heard me say more often than anything else was, it's not difficult to be better running the football than they were in 2023. It's not difficult to be better stopping the run than they were in 2023. So far, they are last in the league. They have gotten worse. Okay. I couldn't have foreseen Jordan Phillips, the Cowboys, trading real life draft capital to go and address the defensive tackle position, albeit the bargain shopping Dollar General version, right? The 7th wave of free agency, or the trade market, whatever you call it, when the new league year opens. I was like, yeah, Jordan Phillips is a dude, unlike Mozzie Smith, who was at the time the best on your roster, you know. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a dude with actual NFL skins on the wall. It's going to help you, right? He can help you stop the run. Linval Joseph, the same thing. He's been okay, but that's a 35-year-old guy that can barely move east and west anymore, you know?
And a lot of miles on his tires.
A lot of miles, and that's a guy that you want as a rotational piece. When Mozzie Smith and Oso Odigizua and, you know, ETC, they need a breather. Hey, Linval, go spell them. 15 snaps a game. Give me everything you got, big fella. But I was wrong, you know, and yes, some of that has to do with learning a new system and familiarizing and you know, it's just, it's wild to me. So give me your assessment, like optimism, not this week necessarily, but you're down your top 4 edge rushers. Last week against I guess in week 6, prior to the bye, you were down Deron Bland, Kalen Carson's still out. You're down the quarterback of the defense, Eric Kendricks, which that was a massive issue as well. You saw Okoye pointed this out. He was talking about Trey Diggs getting frustrated because the calls weren't coming in on time, and it was chaos.
Yeah, they had to move to. It sounded like they had to move to Nick Vigil.
They did
to do.
And by then it was too little. It was too little, too late. But yes,
yeah, just to get correct calls.
Yep.
Think about that, right? I mean,
crazy.
Just to have that. I mean, because you're talking about the workplace now, just to function within the workplace pre-snap. We're not even getting. So it's a mess, right? But I do agree with where you're coming from in terms of the 3-3 antidote.
Yep.
I mean, but why are you 3-3, right? Like a lot of Cowboys fans, a lot of people in this fan base aren't even being honest about that, right? Yeah. In terms of Dak Prescott and what he can do, right? What you did get effort-wise from the defense when they did play well in the Browns game, in the effort they gave in the Steelers game, albeit the Steelers have since made changes and look different offensively now. But hey, it's the NFL. People are up and down. There's a lot of teams struggling. You got to take advantage week to week when you get a matchup like that. And the defense did. They had a good game without Micah, without D-Law. Okay. The Giants, you still got a division win. You still haven't lost the division game.
Yep.
Okay. You haven't played Washington yet. Washington's been flying high, but Jaden Daniels is hurt. They're going to have to play Chicago this week, most likely with Marcus Mariota as we record right now. So there's like this, it's a weird place, but the bottom line is you're top heavy. You're top heavy, and your top guys are keeping you afloat. And the thing is, Dak is going to win enough games for this to be a conversation in December. As regarding him being healthy, as long as he's healthy, he'll stay afloat. You'll get Micah back eventually. You'll get D-Law back eventually. You'll get Bland back eventually. And
you see, by the way, he hasn't practiced this week either, which I don't know if that's a setback or what, but it was a game time decision last week. And then this week after the bye,
he's with the rehab group again or something. Yeah.
Yep.
I heard.
So red flag there as well.
So I guess the frustrating sense though is there is nothing that is happening from an organizational sense where our football culture is able to come in and help us make things easier. There's nothing there. Everything has to be manualed by the quarterback, by Lamb, by the great players we have elsewhere, or else it's trash. And that's the reality of the situation. And it's frustrating for us as fans because we watch the rest of the league, man.
Mm-hmm.
And some of this stuff is really not that deep. It really isn't.
It's
I mean, when you look at, and it's not even just from
you can see
player.
it right here. I got for those who are listening, you can, if you've got access to a TV, or you just want to open up the phone, if you're chilling on your couch right now and want to watch, so right now I've got every Zeke carry from this season so far. And everything that you're going to notice, man, is just things that like you talk about watching the rest of the league, right? Most teams have, so this is what I want people to understand, okay? Most teams have the same exact answers as far as their approach to attacking what the opposing defense either shows or gives, okay? It's like football is not really that complicated in that sense, okay? Where things get different is your approach to how you get there, right? The way that you set up certain plays. And you just see it. All these Zeke carries, man, what do you notice? It's Dak in the gun. Zeke, when he has the ball, he's standing still. That's a problem for a guy at his age who is just less than ideally.
He's not getting anything coming downhill or going forward. Right? Yeah.
Now, right there, under the gun, positive gain, 4 yards. So that just it's the approach to the way that they're trying to do so many things that even people like stupid dumb idiots like me with a microphone and a camera can put on. Like the NFL Pro is real, y'all. Like it exists. Everybody has the same ability to go and watch what you and I like to do to find the answers to the test, like what's actually going on. Okay. And there are certain things that this Cowboys team does, or I guess I should say doesn't do, that all the other highly successful, the top most efficient offenses in football are all doing. And it's the easy buttons that I've been trying to get my followers, my community of people to really understand, like to know exactly what to look for. And so a couple stats for you though, real quick, just to add some context to what you mentioned earlier, just as far as the quarterback has no help. And you see, I heard you mention, I think you texted it to me today, actually, gaslighting Dak's contract versus other quarterbacks, right? When Josh Allen needs help, hey, they're going to get Amari Cooper. When Aaron Rodgers needs help, hey, we'll go ahead and get him Devontae Adams. When Patrick Mahomes is like droppable in fantasy formats right now because they just can't throw the football. His touchdown interception ratio is, I think, 6 to 8 still. They're still 6-0. You know why? Because they can run the football and they can stop the run. You know what the Cowboys can't do? Run the football and stop the run. Okay. All these different things, like to the first question here that I'm about to pull back up on the ticker, Jerry Drama, how confident are you that winning is the most important thing to the Joneses? We're not confident at all, because if it was, I should say, like teams that are trying to win, Steven, they all have something in common at the trade deadline or at the start of free agency. They're aggressively filling holes on their roster.
Right.
You know, and I honestly, I mean this wholeheartedly. I appreciate the Cowboys' overconfidence in their ability to win Super Bowls by just merely addressing one of the three pillars of team building. There's three pillars. You got the NFL draft, you got the trade deadline, and you got the free agent market. The Cowboys believe that they can get to the top, and they try to fool you and me and everyone else into thinking and believing, and they're very successful at it. I'll give them credit once again, into thinking that one of those three pillars, the one-pronged approach, is enough to get you over the top. It's not. It never has been and never will be. Okay? So stats, real quick. I'm not a big stats guy because I feel like for me as a listener, when I listen to other people break down stats, if I'm not visually seeing it, I cannot even remotely fathom anything that they're trying to say. So I try to eliminate that from my approach as well. I try to just make things as practical as I can. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys are top 5 right now in explosive play percentage throwing the football. They are currently last in the NFL right now with a whopping 0% explosive play percentage in the running game. They are the only team.
What constitutes as an explosive
15 yards or more.
15 yards or more, correct? Okay.
Correct. The Cowboys are the only team this year, unless I missed one. There might be one other that I just, what do you call it? Confirmation bias as you're trying to go through and sift through information. Right. Your mind can't necessarily process accurately the first time through. The Cowboys are the only team right now, Steven, that do not have a single rush over 15 yards.
Through 6 games.
6 games in. Okay. Every time I turn the TV on, I see Saquon running free. I see Derrick Henry running free. I even see James Cook running free, and he's one of the more inefficient running backs in terms of rush yards over expected. Okay. Neither here nor there. I'm not going to bog y'all down with that. But just think about that for a second, okay? How underappreciated is the quarterback that you blame for making too much money if you're still – last year, you were 24th in rush DVOA, but you were still the number 1 offense in football. This year, you're top 5 in explosive pass play percentage, but last in the NFL on the ground.
Do you know how hard that is to do for our people listening? Do you know how hard that is to do with no run game?
Yeah, ask Quinn Ewers
in
how
the
hard
NFL.
Yeah,
like seriously, that means the defense does not need to. They know the answer to the test already. You're throwing, right?
Yes. And you know why? It's 3-pronged as well. It's scheme, it's personnel. And it's what we just talked about as far as teams know what's coming, because the Cowboys have one way to move the football. The Cowboys are 32nd in the National Football League in separation. The average yardage of separation amongst their entire collective of wide receivers on a per route run basis, they're dead last, 32nd in the league. But Dak is still the tight window accuracy down the field. Okay. Explosive play percentage, top 5 in football. You're last in run in explosive play run percentage. You can't run the football. And you're last in receiver separation. Imagine what this team would look like if you could get in the gun and average. I mean, they're averaging 3.5 as a unit right now. But if they could just get that to 4, just 4.0, that would be, middle of the pack in the NFL, roughly, maybe 20th, but it's a lot better than 32nd. you know how much better that it would be. You would so much more often be looking at 3rd and 3 as opposed to 3rd and 5 or 6. And
you're reading this off, and it's literally opposite day from where we were in the mid to late 2010s running the football, right? When we first drafted Ezekiel Elliott, it was the biggest advantage almost anybody had in the NFL at that time.
Yep.
And what the offensive line was doing. And we know guys have aged, and, you know, Tyron's gone, and Travis Frederick is gone, and, you know, Zach Martin's towards the end of his career and whatnot. But the fact that the Cowboys, from a mentality, from a culture standpoint, have not adjusted and kept that as their identity is sad to me. The Ravens have maintained. Now, the Ravens have their issues with letting people back in the game, but defensively, they still have a culture of, we're going to be good. We're going to be tough. We're going to be the tough guys. Like, that's our identity. That's been the Ravens' identity forever. The Steelers have had an identity of that forever. You mentioned Kansas City, Andy Reid, pretty much throughout Patrick Mahomes' tenure with Andy Reid. And if you even want to go back further with Alex Smith, he's always made sure there's some element of run, right? It's funny, we were showing these clips of Ezekiel Elliott. You know who's the same exact age as Ezekiel Elliott? Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. I saw that discussion on Twitter the other day too.
And he was brought back. Now we know his situation's been different off the field and all that, but how are they able to get him to run near the effectiveness that he was able to run the first time he was there? And you look at what we're doing with Zeke and our guys, and I'm not just blaming. It's not just all on Zeke or anything. I mean, this is the plays speak for themselves. There's nothing there, and they don't even have a scheme of any type that we're seeing where it's like, oh man, like, put anybody could run behind that line. Like, those are things we used to hear.
Yeah.
Right. And now we're here where the quarterback again has to throw darts in order for us to be successful. Right. Like, that's our only hope. And that's impacted his decision making and how he takes, because he has no choice but to take risk, or else we're stalling, and our defense isn't very good. We're getting behind in football games. We're going up against guys like Ben Johnson, who are dialing up reverse passes and having everything clean for Jared Goff. It's night and day. It doesn't look like we're playing football in 2024, Landon.
No, and that's the thing. So archaic football, and by the way, just right now for those who are watching, I've just filtered this. Every play that you're seeing now is going to be a Dak Prescott completion on 1 yard of separation or less. Okay, so you can literally filter this stuff and find out. Like, me and Steven aren't just pulling numbers out of our butt here. So it's verifiable information. Everybody has access to it. Go look it up on your own if you want to. But right now, you're going to see every completion, and I guarantee you, I'll go ahead and do this as an exercise, like off air later, at some point. If you just filter that for every quarterback, right? So any particular quarterback, tight window throw, and then completion. I guarantee you, right now, Dak is number 1 in the league. I'd be willing to bet money on it. Probably, I'd say I'll put $300 on it right now. And my unit, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I used to get some action, but I no longer. I just don't have the capital right now. I don't have the money to be throwing around. Okay. So, but if I were a betting man, my unit would probably be $10, $15, $20 at most. I'd throw $300 on Dak right now, having the most completions on tight window throws, which is 1 yard separation or less. Yeah. I'd be willing to bet it, and I'll do the exercise on my own. We obviously don't have time to do that right now, but
I mean, look at that throw right there. He's throwing to a fullback.
Yep, that's a fullback on an All-Pro. One of the Swiss Army knife unique tools in this league.
Yeah, good player. Yeah, absolutely. He can be like a Kyle Juszczyk type. Absolutely, I like Hunter.
Well, no, I'm talking about Hamilton, the guy that he routed up to make that happen, right? Yeah. So you got a fullback routing up an All-Pro safety, and then Dak hitting a post route 20 yards down the field with less than a 1 yard.
Look at that seam. Back shoulder on the money against Roquan Smith.
He does that like low-key recklessly, bro. He's so confident in throwing that ball right there. But anyway, so has the quarterback been good enough? No, absolutely not. But I actually recorded this 2 days ago. I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to post it. It's a reel, but Dak is literally, just imagine what his internal clock is saying every time he gets to the back of his drop. Right now, the pressure percentage is bottom 5 in the league as well. And in fact, in week 6 against the Lions, he was pressured on 60% of his dropbacks. 60. At one point, it was 9 out of 15 attempts he was pressured on, about halfway through the second quarter of that game. So, we need to continue to get through these a little bit. I want to talk. The next one here, buyers and sellers. Right. This is out. They're 3-3, like we said. They're playing. They're going to see a banged up 49ers team. Okay, right here you'll see it on the bottom of your screen as well. Cowboys at Daddy's house, because until further notice, they are. That's Dad out there on the West Coast. All right, but buyers versus sellers. I'll let you take this one. It's really simple to me though. If they don't. After coming off a bye week, I don't care how banged up you are. I don't care how banged up they are. This is going to be a test of maniacal effort, right? That's how they won this Steelers game that you're seeing right here. Discipline, grit, toughness, all the coach speak catchy words and phrases. But they lose this game, Steven. What's the rest of the season look like?
Very, very difficult outlook. I mean, still with the schedule coming up. Some good teams, right? Texans, Falcons, your division games. Now, I never sell. This is just me. I never sell until we start dropping division games.
Yep. That's the truth. That's the true test, right?
So as much as this 49ers game, this is more of getting past the mental block. I would say it'd be the test if we were contenders, but the 49ers are not a good football team as we talk right now. Now, things can change, but and one thing I said earlier when I was speaking to my boy Austin on our Talking Boys segment today, I mentioned the 49ers are suffering that traditional Super Bowl loss drop-off with the injuries and with all of that. I mean, it's just something that hits teams every year.
They play more games than everybody else, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the Eagles almost avoided it last year, and then it hit them hard at the back end of the season, right? So you see these teams every year that lose in the Super Bowl, and it's it happened to the 49ers when they lost to the Chiefs the first time. That following season, they were terrible. So right now, this is more so don't lose to the jersey to me.
Right.
Get over that mental block. It's not the same. Now, there's Kyle's still there, and you'll still see some of the same schematics that are used often, to attack our defense as well as to frustrate Dak Prescott.
Yep.
But if we, like you said, with a bye week, considering how we came out of the bye week last year, that's kind of the one saving grace is we obviously had some come to Jesus stuff in Landon. We've talked about last year's bye week a lot, but it's now. We got to see it now in terms of, the proficiencies, what solutions they've added to the run game. What are you doing to make the offense more digestible and just easier for everybody, right?
It's gone backwards.
What are you doing? Right?
We had the same discussion last year, man. We're sitting 5-6 weeks in. The offense it's dinky and dunky, man. It really was old school traditional West Coast where Dak's A-dot. He was getting crucified for it, man. He was averaging, I don't even remember what it was. It was a very low number. He was amongst like the bottom of the league in terms of average depth of target.
They were running the early 2000s West Coast offense. That was
it was double slants, and it was just like the little scissors slant flat concepts all over the place. Did they adjust? Yes, they did. You and I have had conversations as well where we essentially said, hey.
But can we talk about this from a football perspective? I want people to understand what they went to last year, which is why Dak was second in MVP voting and led the league in touchdowns. And CeeDee Lamb becomes one of 12 people to ever go over 1,700 yards receiving and all the numbers they put up. They went back to their old Kellen Moore, Air Coryell offense, which is a vertical system. That is not West Coast.
No.
Okay.
West Coast is East-West, literally.
To me, the blend of West Coast in 2024 with still having those deep concepts is what Andy Reid does. And you know, still having those shorter concepts and those beaters, but also marrying that with run game and everything else. The Cowboys right now, it's still everything's vertical, and they have nothing now. They go to one from one extreme to the other. If you notice,
yep,
they went from one extreme on the West Coast to going to West Coast to all the way to everything is vertical, isolated, no mesh, no mesh, no rubs, nothing. Like, just forget that stuff, right? That everybody else runs in 2024, and that's part of the frustration.
Yeah, and so what Steve is talking about with mesh is essentially it's having guys cross face with other defenders. So it's like across the formation this way. That's mesh. You can sort of mesh from a bunch formation. Like you guys hear me talk about all the time. Bunches and stacks equal natural separation. Like, you don't even have to try hard. That's what we talk about when we're saying give the offense easy buttons, right? There's no excuse for you to be last in the league in separation with CeeDee Lamb on your roster. There's no excuse. So it's just shallow crossers, man. There should be a guy catching the ball on the move, like Brandon Cooks being used all wrong. You know, I did a full video breakdown on is Cooks cooked. You can find that on my channel, man.
You did a great job there.
Just like I'm doing here. I showed every play of every target of Brandon Cooks, and I think we counted I want to say we got to maybe 12, or no, it was 8 out of his 12 completions on the year in which he was running a stop route. Right, and then I talked about the whole kinematic sequencing, or just the way that the human body works. Like, slowing down breaks down faster or sooner in your father time age, your age years. What am I saying? I need to go to bed is what I need to do. Slowing down.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's harder. That goes away first, right? Brandon Cooks is still a fast receiver in this league. He's fast enough to create separation if he's being asked to go north, right? It's as you get older, being able to slow down is what it really goes away. Okay. They're using Brandon Cooks completely wrong. And that's probably 4th or 5th on the list of indictments. But we'll kind of close out this Cowboys thing, because I know we're a little bit over time here before we get to Texas.
Yeah. Is there any other topics you wanted to? I want, if we could even do a speed round real quick if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Real quickly before we do that, I want people to, for those who are first time watchers or new here that may have missed this. Here's just some context for you as far as what we talk about when we say maniacal effort, because little, I guess, sneak peek as far as my thoughts for this game. That's one of the things that could give the Cowboys a chance to win this game on Sunday, but it's maniacal effort. And here, I'll just explain it a little bit further.
So y'all seen me talk a lot about country club.
Can you wait? That's not even showing. My fault.
Right here.
Yeah,
this is definitely more so on the country club side. Over here, this is the maniacal side. Okay, more of this, less of this. Just watch the speed and just intensity in which they trigger. It's night and day different. Marvin Overshone is already 3 steps downhill right here. Okay, Damone Clark is still backpedaling. And he's vertically up, he's upright at the point of contact, just like he is on a bunch of the other reps, man. I don't know. Like I said, I want to be fair to the player, okay? And I hate doing this because he's a professional athlete, and I'm sure he works his butt off. But if he's still subconsciously bothered by the spinal fusion surgery that we're now numerous years removed from, man, it's just, I don't know if that's it or not, but this is everywhere on this film. And it's sad. I mean, I don't know.
If you're wondering if I was able to make it through that entire rewatch, the answer is no. I just kind of got to the point where I was like, this does nothing. It's just there's nothing to take away from this because the effort just wasn't there.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's just embarrassing levels of effort, man. And that's the hand that they're dealt right now. So I guess here's really the last note before we can kind of put a bow in the conversation. But Jordan Phillips is designated to return officially right now from what I have self-dubbed the Phantom IR with the wrist injury because of how bad he was. And I have videos on that, so I'm not going to pull it up because once again, I just hate doing that out of respect for the players. But
yeah.
It was bad to the point of Mike Zimmer literally had to just say, hey, you're going to go sit in timeout. We're going to put you on IR. You don't have an injury, but we're going to create one for you just so that we can submit the paperwork to the NFL league office. And then we'll regroup. We'll go from there. But that was 2 weeks into a guy that they just traded for. Like, that's it in a nutshell. That's the Cowboys season right now. There's just so many like talented pieces, yes, but you could not have forecasted or predicted the offense schematically going backwards and reverting back to just basically what I call stagnant football. There's no modern nuances in all but I want to say one and a half of these games. Inability to stop the run, going backwards in that department, and then being able to run the football. They can't do that either. So that's just where we are. So let's hope.
Can I say two things in regards to the Jordan Phillips thing? So one is going to be in regards to the player. The other is going to be in regards to the organization.
Right.
In regards to the player, at some point, personal pride has to kick in. Do you still want to be in this league?
There you go.
Right. I mean, you got to take a look in the mirror. We talked a lot about this in regards to Texas, Georgia, which we're about to segue into. But accountability starts with self at home. Look at your own self. Do we still want to be in the NFL? Jordan Phillips has played a long time, right? He's not new to this. And if this is the end, this is the end. If your body's done, your body's done. Only he knows if he gave it his all and
he
look back in 10, 15 years, right? So that's number one.
Yeah.
And that's on him. That has nothing to do with Jerry, nothing to do with anybody, Steven, nobody else. That's on Jordan Phillips. But what I will also say is these type of problems don't seem to happen in organizations that are serious, in organizations where you can't come in on no BS. You come in there, even as whether you're a veteran, a new guy, or whatever. And some of these guys that have been on a lot of different teams will tell you that. They'll tell you where, hey, you could show up late over here. Ain't nobody really going to say nothing or whatever. And then over here, let's say you get on the Steelers or the Ravens or somebody else where ball is life and the whole team there. And they like, where you been? We've been here in film session the whole time. Or we've been here in the weight room the whole time. And you get real quick on program. And all of a sudden, we've been on teams like that. If you've played, you've been on teams that are serious and other people are serious.
It's accountability. That's it, right? I got crucified on Facebook. I posted a video. Honestly, I didn't think was going to – I just wanted to put something out there because I took the bye week off with the Cowboys. I had to.
Yeah, for mental space purposes, right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And so I was kind of feeling the itch a little bit again on Sunday Night Football. Steelers are on because that 50% of my blood is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So they do have a tiny little soft spot in my heart.
Yeah.
They always will just because that's family, But I'm watching the game intently, of course. And I noticed I posted, it was just this little piece from the telecast about accountability was the message of Mike Tomlin holding his team and his players and his coaches accountable. You can see the intensity live, and they panned over to him. He turns around. It's like a 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. They try. Arthur Smith dials up with Jaylen Warren on the field, who great football player, better yards per carry numbers, more efficient as a running back than Najee Harris is right now. But Najee Harris is 245 pounds. Najee Harris is tough to tackle. Najee Harris is,
that's the personnel he should have. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was actually crazy. Funny enough, it was crazier because for what you just said, that was my initial takeaway too. I was like, oh, he clearly he wanted Najee in the game. No, he wanted to send a message, not only to Arthur Smith, to the entire team, to the entire fan base, to national media. Hey, Russell Wilson is going to throw this ball here. We're going to do things that in a different way, instead of old school phone booth football and 3 yards in a cloud of dust to punch this thing in like we've been sort of known for. Right? I made the right decision, even though I'm being crucified right now, to bench Justin Fields. Russell Wilson. It was like a very subtle, very respectful, but he turns over to Arthur Smith, finger point right here, and that's it. Like nod of respect to the coach. Arthur Smith looks back at his play sheet, sends the call in. Boom! They try to go little fade, back shoulder ball to George Pickens, left corner in the end zone, incomplete, but still. Just goes to show you that level of accountability. And then just the physicality, the way that the Steelers approach every single snap on both sides of the football, you can tell it starts with the head coach, right? So that's what I'm looking for, right? It's maniacal effort that I've already been talking about, okay? But then the coach holding the owner as well. And I've seen some – I want to get your thoughts on this. Zeke complains about touches week 5. All of a sudden – Zeke gets, he's essentially leading the backfield in week 6. Did Mike McCarthy do that? I've seen speculation, emphasis on the speculation part. Did he do that to send a message to Jerry Jones to say, hey, listen, look, I told you this guy can't play? Like, was that a mess? Was that Mike McCarthy doing that to stick it to Jerry Jones or no?
I can't go that far. That's some hot tea if that's the case, but I mean, that's a bold. I think that's something Mike Tomlin can do, because Mike Tomlin has, real roots there in Pittsburgh and time in. Mike McCarthy's on a 1-year deal. And now at some point, Mike might even go in FU mode. And so maybe that there could be some validity there.
Especially now that Jerry's saying that the plays are bad.
Yeah. So my thing, though, is that we're coming off the game where Rico actually showed juice in that
the Giants on Thursday night,
and actually gave you some, right? And ran hard, and granted, he's not an explosive runner, and the longest carry of the year is 13 yards by Rico, and the next one's 12 by CeeDee Lamb, but we were getting something out of it, and he was also a part of the pass game as well, and really should be your main guy in between the 20s. There's a time and a place still for Zeke, in my opinion.
There is. Yes.
And what's also interesting,
the approach is correct. Yes.
If the approach is correct, but what's also interesting is that I've started noticing that they're not using Zeke in those moments where they should be using Zeke. That's the most puzzling thing of everything.
That's what I'm saying. So that's where I apply validity to that. Like, because we saw Zeke phased out. And against the Giants on Thursday Night Football, Rico led the backfield. He had 20 carries for 86 yards or something like that. It was a career high for him, and he scored a touchdown. I think he had a receiving touchdown that week too. I'll have to go back and look, but yeah. So it's just weird business, man. Zeke, by the way, is 4th to last. That was my second stat I forgot to get to. He's 4th to last right now in rush yards over expected. So I just posted this on my Twitter as well. He currently has a minus 54 rush yards over expected. So it's really, for Zeke and a few others, it's rush yards under expected. The stat is actually not even applicable, or at least I guess the acronym for the stat is not applicable. But the only 3 guys that are worse are DeAndre Swift, Devon Achane, and I forget who the third guy was.
Was it Cook?
I'll go check real quick because it's the last thing that I posted here. It is Zach Moss.
Zach Moss. Okay.
Yeah.
From Cincinnati. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, man. I mean, we could sit here and break down the philosophies. People know the Shanahan system gives this team problems, right? It's the reasons why I posted my preview for the Lions game, and the title of the thumbnail was mismatch, because it just is. Now, I will say that the run defense, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, not only I don't care who's active and healthy, which right now it looks like they're going to be without Debo. Brandon Ayuk obviously done for the year. Debo's got pneumonia. Juwan Jennings has a hip and hasn't practiced yet this week. He was a DNP 2 days in a row, so he's up in the air. So really right now they might be looking at first-round rookie
Ricky
Ricky Pearsall. And George Kittle also has a sprained foot.
Mm-hmm.
So Ross Dwelly, Ricky Pearsall, forget their
and Brock. Look, Brock Purdy's a very good player, but one thing with him is I look at him a lot like I look at Dak back in like 2017 when the team started to kind of erode around. Like Zeke got suspended, Tyron was out, guys were hurt, Dez wasn't 100% at that point, and it was like Dak wasn't ready to carry stuff yet. I think Brock is kind of in that boat right now versus the comfort of playing with Infinity Stones and having, everything up front schematically for him. And whenever anything's uncomfortable, just hand the ball off to CMC. So because of that, Brock has been forcing a lot, right? And there's been a lot of turnovers, uncharacteristic for him as a 49er. We're seeing more of the Iowa State Brock Purdy recently. So our guys have to be ready to take advantage of some of those opportunities that may come their way. The Chiefs just really sat there. I mean, Spags and them, they're so well coached. The ball came to them many of those times, right? Just being in the right place, reading their keys, and knowing that quarterback can get a little antsy and try to make something happen, right? And so that's something where I'm curious to see if the Cowboys have been watching what other teams have been doing, especially some of these Flores types, right? The Spags types. Zimmer, one of the reasons why I believe Zimmer was hired was his own success versus
against the Shanahan tree. Yes, that's correct. That wasn't the only reason, but that was definitely
it was on the job interview. I mean, so it's like, hey, I think that's a storyline worth paying attention to, Lando. For this game of how we assess things on Sunday night.
Yep. And so we had the same questions week 2, Shanahan system, Clint Kubiak. Saw how that worked out. Week 5, or actually week 6, Shanahan system, Ben Johnson. Saw how that worked out. Last year, Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan system. Saw how that worked out. 2 playoff losses prior to that, 2 years in a row, Kyle Shanahan himself. So look, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm making Eric Kendricks, DeMarvin Overshown, Maris Leofau, Damone Clark, even if he plays. He didn't play against the Steelers when Eric Kendricks was healthy. He started in week 6 when EK was out. So we'll see. But if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm making that collective of players tackle Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerrero. Actually, I want to see Isaac Guerrendo's status. I feel like I remember seeing him. He popped up this week with some sort of injury. And he's
also had some
Logan Harlan
in challenges.
Can probably verify that if he's a Niners fan. But I'm making him tackle those 2 guys 45 times. How let's see your gap integrity. Let's see how physical you want to be. This comment right here too. I mean, I love this. This is where I'm at right now. How bad do you want it? Right? Downhill, fill gaps. One of the ways that you can eliminate the motion and all the misdirection, the eye candy stuff, the creativity that Kyle Shanahan brings by marrying the running game to the pass game. You know, one of the lowest hanging fruit things that you can do, if nothing else, sprint your ass downhill and blow somebody up. Just blow somebody up. Be early and be powerful. Just be aggressive. Like, get there early. DeMarvin Overshown has no problem doing that. Now, that's what I'm saying. I think you're going to see, and this is not me. This ain't Kool-Aid. I'm just being real, y'all. That's why Eric Kendricks was very important to help this team come along on the defensive side of the ball with the brand new system. He's the quarterback. He'll get guys in the right positions. It's up to everybody else up front.
It's not deep. Football's not even that deep sometimes, though, man, because you look at the parallels. Our offense, I mean, we're about to talk Texas.
Yes.
Texas offense is similar to what the Shanahans and the McVays and those of that ilk do, right? And Georgia, when we do that stuff, Georgia came and smacked us in the mouth.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Like, hey, you want to come and send this guy in motion to come get me? No, I'm coming to get you. Right? And right. So that's always been the form. It's always been the cat and mouse game.
Yes.
With those things. That's been since Mike Shanahan was coaching in the 90s, right? Like, I mean, we have to understand that there's still an element of physicality that commands respect in this game, even with the rule changes and them wanting to be more open and all that. You still have to, there's certain elements you have to do, especially at the line of scrimmage or across the line of scrimmage, to dictate and control the game.
Yes, no doubt about it. Okay, so let's get to the fun stuff real quick. There's a very specific reason why I saved this conversation for the last, because I know how tired you are. I know how hard you've worked today with all 3 of your different shows and on top of your.
No, this is fun for me, man. We can run.
Yeah, hey, this is therapy for me. Fun, however you want to characterize it. I'm with you. You know, we do this because we love it. So,
absolutely.
Let's talk about Texas real quick, man. I think my biggest takeaway that people saw today was posted on Instagram. Obviously, for those who are also unaware, I'm partnered with the most comprehensive coverage of Texas Longhorns football outside of FANATIC Perspective on YouTube, of course. But Inside Texas, InsideTexas.com, that's where you can go. And literally, guys, I'm telling you, if you're a Texas fan and you don't follow the work that we do over there, you're not as big of a fan as you think you are. So you can see some of my biggest takeaways. And what I wanted people to understand, Stephen, is that one bad half of football does not define or characterize your season. Okay. Just walk us through what happened in your mind in the first half of that game. Because we've already had these discussions. So I know exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that I agree. And what does Texas learn from it, and how do they apply it moving forward? That just give us your synopsis.
Oh, also shout out to Inside Texas. I saw Eric Nalin at the game, and he came and said what's up to me and Trans. So yeah, absolutely best in the game, paid site wise, all the inside information, keeping you up to date with the latest and greatest on Texas. I'm a Inside Texas subscriber as well.
Yep. So
you know, I'm a customer like many of you are. But in terms of first off, the atmosphere was incredible just being there. Biggest game I've ever attended college football wise in my life, honestly. And it was special to be there. Tons of Olympians, celebrities, the entire Phoenix Suns basketball team was there. You know, we got Glenn Powell and Matthew McConaughey on the sideline and the whole bit.
Breeze out there.
Yeah, I mean, Quavo's out
Kevin
there
Durant,
for Georgia. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. So it was a heavyweight, and I'm painting that picture because Michael Williams and Jalen Walker did a podcast that came out today called The Players Lounge, where I listened to these 2 young men who were co-SEC Defensive Player of the Week because of us.
Yeah, and
they did a podcast together. And they talked about in their podcast, they talked about the environment and it being a heavyweight fight. That was what they said. They said they came in there with intent to eat, to hunt, to eat what you kill, but ultimately for Kirby, right? And so what you saw was a very motivated team wanting to fight. And I think one half of our football team understood that we were in a prize fight. We were in hey, we gonna come out like the way, think about a true big time heavyweight fight. I know it's been a while since a lot of people have seen them, but back in the day, like Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis or something like that, or Evander Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe, like everybody in the world is watching this event and they're watching these 2 guys come in the ring and only one person gonna walk out.
That's right.
That's the mentality Georgia came into this game with. I think Texas came into this game offensively with oh, we're going to play good football. We're going to do our thing. We're at home. I thought we were confident, but I don't think that they had a mentality that we are in a fight until the second half, and it was a little too late for them. The defense was on par with that mentality of going to attack Georgia. So I'm proud of what they did and what they attempted to do to really save this game in a lot of ways, which they tried to do. But Lando, my biggest thing is when you don't match physicality against a team like that that's coming to knock your head off, and they have the personnel to do it. Not that you don't have personnel but they have the personnel to match you.
Yes.
It becomes violent real quick.
Yep.
And then, obviously the quarterback situation, which we'll talk about with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. But it started at the line of scrimmage, man. And psychologically, because again, that's what we focus on here on the Lando Show. When you decide that, I don't want to rock with this. I want to get the ball outside, or I'm trying to avoid that. You're also sending that message to your guys, right? Because when you notice that second quarter against OU, when we really blew the game open, Quintravia and Wisner between the tackles getting downhill, and we broke off a 50-yard touchdown run. And all these our guys are getting lathered up in the run game. No, they gotta go.
I like that.
Punch, right? And we did not have a single carry between the tackles in the first half of that football game. We ran for 2 yards rushing. That's unacceptable. I don't care how bad.
What was the per carry average again for the first half? 0.1.
Yeah, 0.1. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that, when you're that one-sided and you force yourself into that, and look, you talked about this too. You texted it and said, and it was Karen and I as well. Hey, Texas likes to throw to set up the run. Well, you know who else knows that? Kirby Smart.
Georgia, yeah.
They know, like, and you know who else does that? Georgia does.
They do.
Georgia likes to throw. Since Alabama, they've been throwing to set up the run. The difference, though, is they never forgot about Trevor Etienne.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right. They still, Bobo would still mix it in because body shots are important in big fights. Okay. Going back to the fight analogy, don't forget to mix. Everybody wants to go upstairs to the head, and it's cute and it's sexy, but those body shots will give you profit later in the fight. And Texas did not build up their bank of those body shots internally. Jaden Blue should never go a game with no carries.
That cannot happen.
That cannot happen. And it's not just on Sark. I love Tashard Choice. He's one of the best coaches. He knows more football than I've forgotten. But I think the brothers being a little too harsh on them young boys. I know ball security matters, and I know Tashard Choice is so anal about what happens in practice and ball security. But Jared Gibson, y'all did trust him in Ann Arbor to run inside.
I was just about, that was going to be my next follow-up point.
He rewarded you. You trusted Jaden Blue. They were like that. At some point, you also need to understand as a staff and as a team, and for a game plan perspective, we talk about NFL. Georgia's running basically NFL straight up too high, get home with 4, everybody else matching up man underneath. And we talked about this before the game.
Yes.
I texted you before the game. I said, look, they gonna mix in some too high because they want to stop all that deep crossers and all those things. And the way you can kind of slow it down is keeping those safeties back there and making Texas run the ball, be patient. But it's okay to get 2 yards. It's okay to get 3 yards. As long as we're going forward and we're establishing a mentality of, hey, we're not scared of you.
We ain't shying away from contact here.
We're not shying away from contact. We may not be the most efficient at it. We may not have the backs to do it 30 times, but that's a part of our offense.
You will respect it, right?
You will respect it.
The same psychology that you achieve when you throw even an incomplete deep ball. You have to stretch the field vertically too, It's the same thing like you're talking about, okay? That just because you don't major in that doesn't like you got this toolbox like of offense, you know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily major, like that's not your strongest or your sharpest tool is running the football downhill at people. But Georgia needs to know that you're still willing to make them respect it. They have to honor it. They have to think that that it's a threat, make them, you have to make them respect it.
And what's the point of doing play action then?
Right.
Because they're bypassing your play action.
Correct.
And to me, if people aren't respecting your play action at all, it kind of goes back to the Cowboys thing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If now my quarterback's back is turned to the defense, but we're not getting them to move the way we want them to move. They're still coming. They don't care, right? Because they're not running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They're running right past the back.
Yep.
Right.
And you know what else they did too? You go watch the replay. Those two high safeties that you're talking about, their first step is this way, backwards. They're not even now.
Yeah, they're not reading run at all.
They most of that first half, they confused the fire out of Quinn Ewers because they were. I mean, this is Steven, simulated pressures and rolled coverages. Quinn, brother, if that's going to mess you up, good luck. We've got to grow there.
That's the league. That's the league, man.
It's the league. That's what they do. Look at the best defensive football statistically right now. Brian Flores, Minnesota Vikings. What do? Every play, they're bringing pressure, and they're simulating pressures, but they're bringing heat, and they're changing the post-snap picture. That's what Georgia did. And then when they realized Texas wasn't ready for the fight, you know what else they did on top of that? They sat in basically too high zone coverage, and they said, okay, as soon as he tries to get this out to the flat, we're triggering downhill, and we are pissed off. We feel disrespected. We are as, if not more, talented than you, and we want it worse than you do right now. We bring the fight to you. Texas did not bring the fight to them. That was the difference.
They sounded like, when I was listening to the two young men, Jalen and Michael, who were both very, very sharp guys, and they held a podcast. They didn't even have a host. It was just them two talking to each other.
That's cool.
Talk like me and you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And they seemed so perplexed that they were underdogs. They were like, we've won like 50, like we've been favored in like 50 straight games. Why were we the underdogs, all of us? And so because of that, it was like, what kind of disrespect is this? And Kirby,
crazy? Are you guys stupid? Yeah. I dare you to doubt me. Yeah, that's the energy that they brought. You know why? Because they've been there, done that before.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to, I want to get your thoughts on this too, because you said you liked it. I sent you the preview, little sneak peek of the video that I posted. But brother, how does Cam Williams, Kelvin Banks, Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, Cole Hudson, DJ Campbell, how are those boys walking around campus on Monday? First team meeting and practice game prep for the Georgia Bulldogs coming to town, top 5 matchup. College game day is probably going to be here. I think they probably by Monday they knew that probably, but you think there's a little bit more swagger in their step?
Yeah. Walking
into their their major to AP calculus, sitting down with the ear pods in, bobbing your head a little bit more. Okay, hey. If Steve Sarkisian in the first team meeting and practice in Georgia prep announces to the whole roster, coaching staff included, Kelvin, Hayden, Jake, Cam Cole, Cam Cole, DJ.
Yeah, both all. Yeah.
This one's on you this week. This team that I inherited back in 2021, this team that couldn't even field 2 separate teams for a spring game because they didn't have enough scholarship offensive linemen. To the point to now where most people, you can have even casuals from other conferences say, yeah, we hear people talk about it enough. Texas probably has the best offensive line of football. They probably do. That wasn't the case on Saturday, this past week, right? But my point is, how different does that look? I know CJ Baxter's hurt. I know you're really cute and creative behind the line of scrimmage, and Steve Sarkisian is one of the best play designers in the game right now. One of the best at helping his quarterback have easy buttons. all the misdirection. Yeah, right. But I'm gonna send a message this week, right? Kirby was the one that brought that energy, but Steve Sarkisian, he knows what the SEC requires. He knows how physical it is. He knows his team didn't necessarily yet, right? Some guys probably did, right? We've seen Alabama before. We've seen, it's twice, but the last 2 years since this iteration of players. But hey, this one's on y'all. The big nasties up front. We're gonna run this. We're gonna opening script. We're not gonna finesse and patty cake our way around Georgia. We're gonna go right through them. Texas didn't do that. They didn't do that. And the same approach actually happened. And I wonder if this game was if that's why Steve Sarkisian had this approach. I'm pretty sure, Steve, the opening drive of that Michigan game, the first 10 plays were pass plays. Am I wrong on that? Because I just went back and pulled up the All-22, and I don't recall seeing a run play on that opening.
I'll have to go back and look. Yeah, I can't remember off top. They were very aggressive trying to throw it. They were trying to get Michigan to run. And I mean, there's an intent behind everything, right?
Fouls make fights too, and
yeah. But to your point, though, when they went to Tuscaloosa, think about how they ended the football game. 7 minutes left in the game.
That's what I was gonna.
Is that the same offensive line? If I'm not mistaken, literally every single outside of Christian Jones, everybody that was there for that night, that Jonathan Brooks and CJ Baxter ran the clock out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the O-line. That was Kyle Flood. That was them.
7 minutes.
7 minutes. That's one of the most impressive things I've seen in my Texas fandom, honestly, against that defensive front. That's a playoff team they did that against.
Dude.
Okay. Yeah. That Alabama team, nobody else was doing that to them. Okay.
They handed Saban the largest home depth. Nobody else beat Alabama by 10 points in the Nick Saban era at home.
But one thing you will hear coming out of that, because I bring this up to say this. Texas felt disrespected. We were told you can't play SEC ball. You can't play in the phone booth. And they wanted so life is funny that way. Life giveth, life taketh away. Sure does. And life is so funny that Georgia just went through this a couple weeks ago in Bama.
This is why we work, bro.
But this is why I'm not freaking out
over and over and over again.
Yeah, this is why as Texas fans you shouldn't freak out. Like Landon said, you have to learn. Michael Taft to me has been so on program of what he's been saying in the media about looking in the mirror and learning. He even referenced Coach Saban. He said, man, this is the best time to learn from this.
Yeah.
Because we are going to find out so much about ourselves, good, bad, and indifferent, man. But we're going to become better football players because of this situation. But the sky is falling that occurred after the game. I do think some of the fan base has gotten a little new money for me and a little entitled. Sure. And you said it, people were tripping. People were tripping, man. And
they must have forgot we won 5 games 2 years ago.
People acting like, look, you want to talk. This wasn't even, I was there. This wasn't even top 5 games. Pissed off that I was leaving. I wasn't pissed off when I was leaving the stadium. Am I upset that we lost? Yes. I'm upset anytime my team, any basketball, I'm an NBA fan. There's 82 games in the season. I'm upset every single time we lose. Okay. I don't like losing. Okay. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to like actually being like, I'm mad the next day, mad leaving the stadium, that didn't even crack my top 5 of being mad. Nah. We lost to I left that game thinking, oh man, this was humbling.
Yeah.
This was sobering.
Yeah.
I also learned who my warriors are tonight.
There you go.
Baron Sorrell, I see you. Okay. Oh. Baron Sorrell, You fought for your right to party. Alfred Collins, you fought for your right to party. John A. Barron, you fought for your right. I got people that were matching the energy out there now.
Oh yeah, and it was mostly on the defensive side of the ball.
So I'm not leaving this thing like, you want to talk about pissed off? Pissed off is when you're like, there's no way we should lose this game, and you leave the thing. I was there for Kansas.
Yeah.
Don't sit up here and tell me you're jumping ship because we lost to Georgia. Then you haven't been paying attention to what Georgia is, and you don't respect Kirby Smart as the top dog in this sport now that Nick Saban is gone. He's the top dog. Okay? So there has to be a level of respect here. I was more mad when we lost. I'm going to bring up a random-ass Texas game that still pisses me off to this day. I was more mad when we lost to West Virginia and Will Grier and them when they went for 2 with Dana.
I remember.
I was at that game.
Yeah.
And we lost, I think it was like 42-41. They went for 2 and was targeting a freshman Anthony Cook at the time, and they went for it twice and got it. I was way more upset that we lost that game than I was us getting our butts humbled and kicked by Georgia, especially knowing that we may see them again. So context.
And you know what? I'll add on a little bit to that because for one thing, the one area of concern that we had was the defensive side of the ball, right? Nobody was ever doubting that Texas was a national championship contending offense, right? Last year they had the best run stop ability of anybody, but we got cooked 6 different times for 300 plus yards through the air, and Michael Penix did the same thing. NFL throw, big time throw after big time throw, tight window balls, like
tight windows,
bro. Oh my gosh, it was a spectacle. But that Texas defense answered the test. It wasn't a perfect performance. They gave up their share of big plays, right? Backs against the wall. At one point, Steven, as bad as everybody feels like this was, and as embarrassing as it honestly really was, to the point where you had to bench your quarterback in the first half. Texas won the third quarter 15-0, did they not? At one point in that game, it was 23-15.
Starting the fourth quarter.
Georgia was backed into their own end, and I believe it was 3rd down and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Texas was about to get the ball back in a one-possession ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So that, to me, I'm not trying to sugarcoat the loss. What I'm saying is this team that was embarrassed to the tune of people wondering if Quinn Ewers was ever going to throw another pass for the University of Texas again. They fought, bro. They punched back, and they finally got to doing some more of the things that we wanted to see them open the game with offensively, but the defense never wavered. Georgia scored 20 points. Their first 20 points of the game, they amassed 64 yards. That defense answered the test. And so what I'm trying to get at is that that's the area of this team and of this roster that people were questioning and most concerned about. They just went out there and proved it. They're currently the number 1 defense in the entire country right now.
They are. And you found, Jermaine Lole had a good game. Somebody that was struggling earlier this year. He had 6 tackles. He was outstanding to me. I also look at another thing, Landon. Credit to Mike Bobo, Georgia offensive coordinator, who dialed up that trick play when everything seemed like it was doom and gloom for Georgia, and they get that big pass to Oscar Delp. That's how they got in the end zone.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a very timely play call. And I again, in big fights, there's an opening, and it'll happen, and either you get it or you don't. And in 1995, George Foreman versus Michael Moore for the heavyweight championship of the world, when George Foreman becomes the oldest heavyweight champion. There's a particular opening, I believe, in the 11th round where he hits that punch on Michael Moore and lights out. And it came out and he set it up for rounds. You got to hit it. Sark got his, and we missed it with Wisner. We had our little play. It was off the Makuba interception, and Sark, we had our opportunity. We didn't execute it. It is what it is. We got to get that back. Not blaming anybody. We didn't execute. Georgia ran theirs, and they hit on theirs to dealt.
Yep.
That was the knockout blow. That they waited. Because the rest of it, everything they were running at that point, landing straight up, we were on it, bro.
Oh.
Their offense, he had to do that.
The ball 41 times, bro. What did he finish with? 165 yards?
He was well under 200 yards passing, and he had gone for 400 the last 2 weeks.
2 weeks in a row?
No touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
So I'm not worried about the defense whatsoever. And honestly, I'm really not worried about the offense either.
I'm worried about one person. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, that's what I want to finish with. To question the quarterback is fair, and it needs to be questioned at this point. Okay, the warning, we talked about this too, Steven, me, you, and Kieran. The warning shot was fired. Okay. Week 1, the first time in a row, rust. Second game in a row against Georgia. And the first one is obviously OU. Okay. Game number 2. That's a really, really good defense with a lot of NFL players over there. Okay. Third time in a row, Vanderbilt, you start slow and you're indecisive in the pocket. You're not stepping into throws, and you're just really, like, to be honest with you, not seeing the field, which I got egg on my face a little bit because I have projects with Quinn Ewers as the thumbnail with a Heisman Trophy in front of him. And I'm saying that because
Me too.
Yeah, I know how talented the roster is, but I saw the growth of Quinn's pocket presence, the ability to navigate and evade pressure and still deliver down the field. I'm like, okay, there's the growth we've been waiting for. Like, he's a complete player now. Week 2 against Michigan, I made that declaration in my mind. That's when I was like, okay, like, this is real. Like, all the hype that we've heard from Sark, like he touched on SEC Media Days, the maturation physically and mentally, night and day for Quinn Ewers from year 2 and year 3. That's Sark saying that, not me. But I'm like, okay, the wheels start spinning a little bit. I'm like, it's pretty bold considering most people are still wanting and expecting to see Arch Manning start for Texas. Sark is clearly sending a message. SEC Media Days, man. We start to see that verify itself, and then, okay, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm getting on board now. I see it. I know what this offense is, and I know what it could be if you have a year 3 player in a system, an NFL caliber system, right? And you're actually getting past just your first read. You have become and developed into a pure progression player, where you can get to just different throws, different windows.
Which we've seen from many Sark quarterbacks that have been with him that long.
Yes. And that was kind of the anticipation, and then his words, and then we saw it verified in a hostile environment against the defending national champs. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is actually real. This is not cool.
The NFL was excited about it too, Landon.
Yes, they were. Yep. And so were the Heisman odds. So it's gone backwards. And granted, the sports psychology involved in a left oblique tweak, which essentially, for those who are unaware, when you throw, to start the sequence, the upward spiral of the throw, okay, this hip has to clear this way while your upper body is still closed. So it's that stretch. There's a stretch from your hip all the way to your throwing shoulder that uncoils, and that's where your power comes from. All right, I'm seeing Quinn Ewers so often the last 2 weeks. He's delivering throws with his hips essentially squared to the line of scrimmage. Okay. So that to me was an indicator that pain was still in the equation here, because he's subconsciously protecting that stretch from firing and being under all that tension and all that load. It's like a rubber band, right? But this, like I said, we're about to be week 3 now. Okay. This can't keep happening, right? At some point, either you're hurt or you're not. And Sark was trying to send a message at the end of the first half last week. If you start slow again in Nashville this weekend, I mean, it's a wrap, right?
I mean, whether or not Sark is telling the truth, I mean, you're going to protect your guys in the media, but Sark has said he does not believe that his injury is impacting his performance. We see it, but he's saying, he is telling the fan base that.
I think he wants Quinn to, honestly, I think he wants Quinn to like stop thinking about it. I think he thinks that Quinn is still subconsciously bothered.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I think. But
so, and the other thing is, he's not on any injury report. He's practicing
in full.
He's practicing in full. There's no restrictions. There's no, like, he may be getting treatment and stuff, but he is not. He's practicing as he normally would.
Mm-hmm.
So at a certain point, and I say this all the time because you're right, but like a lot of guys are banged up, man. It's week 8 now. We're going into week 9.
So you gotta have that level of toughness, bro. I mean, either you can get the job done, or you can't, and if you can't, get out of the way. So the team has to come first here.
Brother, we had a quarterback play here with broken ribs every year for freaking 4 years in a row, and he never made an excuse. God bless him.
Bam, bro.
He never made. He ran the ball. He did.
Dude, it's different, bro. Bam! Shout out to Bam.
I'm good.
That's a warrior. That's a
warrior.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, man. A-gap blitz. He's stepping into the throw.
No doubt.
Yeah, with no arm talent, he's stepping into the throw. I don't care. I'm
eating that thing.
So here's the thing, though. For Quinn's sake, I really do like the young man.
Me too.
I think from everything I've heard and seen, he's a really good dude. And I root for people like that. I root for somebody that wanted to be the quarterback at Texas. He don't make a whole bunch of noise. You can tell he one of the dudes.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I've seen some people say, "Oh, we're being too hard. This is Texas, blah blah." Nah, this is SEC. This is college football, man. This is you want to hear irrational? Go look at Alabama Spaces, Twitter, and Reddit right now. They want to fire the coach already. Okay, that's crazy. Okay, so but what I'm saying is, you got to perform.
Yep,
you got to perform.
Yep.
And we can't keep going down this path of making excuses and all this type of things. Now, I think that in Nashville, Landon, I think several things will happen which will make it as easy as possible for Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I think we will try to be physical and run the ball.
You've got to. You have to.
We know. What do we know? What are the things that are defined? We know that Vanderbilt does not have the personnel. They are very scrappy and very physical. Very, very physical. I like them.
They talk that trash too, bro.
They talk trash. They're scrappy, but they want to fight as well.
Yes.
But one thing I do know is they cannot go and run a too high man and just rush for. No. They can't. They're gonna have to gamble, if you will. They can't do all that and have all those people in coverage and only sit. No, they're gonna have. So you're gonna have opportunities, is what I'm saying. It's up to Quinn, man, and have fun. Trust your ability. Trust your coaching. Trust your technique.
Yeah.
But we got to get back to the basics this week and execute. Execute no more airmailing wide open throws, wide open dig routes. You saw later in the third quarter in the Georgia game, Ian Boyd posted a few clips of this.
Mm-hmm, I saw
when
that.
he did step up in the pocket, he was hitting Matthew Golden on those dig routes. He was on time. We've seen him be on time on some of the post corner things. So that's also protecting your own self. You didn't get hit on those plays when you did step up, buddy.
Right. So and when you step up, you threaten the defense differently too. It's multifaceted because you can actually pick up yardage on the ground with your legs. Like he's what I characterize quarterbacks as far as athleticism by like describing other positions. So like Arch would be probably closer to running back mobile. Quinn Ewers is tight end mobile, stepping like moving forward.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
he can run fast in a straight line when it's
he can get downhill a little bit. Yeah, he can pick up yards with his legs, and so that affords you the ability to do that too. But in this league, man, you can't be going backwards as you're letting the ball go every time. It's not going to end well for you. Your mechanics get so much, like when you rely on your arm. Yes, you can take the stretch and the pain out, but you can't throw a football or a baseball accurately when it's
with
just
any consistency either.
There's just too many moving parts, and yeah, man. So that's kind of the whole deal and if Texas doesn't start fast again, that's why I'm saying that it's going to have to be a quick trigger this time, because the way that Vanderbilt wants to play, they want to run the football. It's similar to a triple option, right? They play ball control, and it's gap integrity or you're dead, So playing from behind against that team, and once they are already minimizing possessions, it's tough, So you have to start quick and make them play from behind to where they can't do the things that they want to do offensively. Diego Pavia is a warrior, bro. I mean, that's a wrestling background guy. That's actually like, he will fight anybody on the field at any point, and he'll meet you in the parking lot too if you want to after the game.
He's one of the best transfer portal pickups. That's what Auburn needed, by the way. Yeah. Hugh Freeze in them. That's who they win and should have got, but that's neither here nor there. I've been saying since Vanderbilt got him in the portal, there's a reason why Vanderbilt's previous quarterback transferred to LSU. Yep. Because Diego's a bad boy, man. Mm-hmm. And the thing too is he's a warrior and all that, but he can be very accurate and deadly throwing the ball downfield.
He's efficient. They just don't do it a lot. No. They don't throw it a lot, but he's very efficient because they require so much attention with all the misdirection and the gap integrity that's required to slow them down on the ground. They're not even great. They're not. So I was looking at Homer and Paul did the breakdowns as far as the numbers on with them running the football. They're not even really good at running the football either. They're always in 4th and short situations, and they're just sustaining drives, and they're just killing you. It's death by 1,000 cuts.
Well, doesn't that sound familiar with what we were talking about earlier about what was needed in the Georgia game hey, it's okay sometimes to have some inefficient runs as long as you're going forward, right? Like a 3-yard run doesn't kill you, right? Like, and that's very much Vanderbilt football and why they maintain possession. They killed Alabama. They murdered Alabama in time possession. I think it was like 42-17 or something like that, or 42-15.
I think Bama only had 6 possessions. That sounds crazy, but I think I saw that.
No, I think you're right.
6 or 7, something.
Now they hit on their explosives, which is why they had so many points, but they were not able to maintain the football, and Alabama did not run the football in that game very well.
That's the thing right there. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Anything else, bro? I mean, I know it's already been.
Yeah. I do got to wrap because I do want to go get some dinner, but I just want to say thank you for.
Look at that, man. Hey,
I do want to say.
Hey
man, we outside, man. I do want to say thank you for having me on, man, and covering our 2 favorite teams. Yeah. I know the conversation was probably real and gritty about the Cowboys, but that comes from a place of love and passion and frustration. I mean, we have to voice. We're customers. We are. I mean, this is unacceptable. I spend money on this team. I love this team. I spend time on this team. We both live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We know what's going on, man. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are very frustrated because of the potential. Like, we love the players. All right. I love the star. Jerry ain't gonna make me take away my star. No, don't get it twisted. But there has to be a concerted effort for us, right? To the purpose of why we're doing this. I'm not here to sell tickets and sell merch like Jerry is. That's not my intent. My intent is to see my team perform to their best ability every Sunday and win games. And right now, that does not seem to be the priority in the organization. So I'd like to see that change. But with Texas, this is just learning. Hey,
right where they want to be. Right where they want to be.
So thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Those are my parting thoughts.
No, of course, dude. I appreciate you being here. Like I said, it's weird. It's kind of a weird feeling for me in the best way possible, having you on my platform when, 3-4 short years ago, I'm like, geeked and nervous and all kinds of stuff just to even like talk to you face to face for the first time. It's just wild how things kind of come full circle. But yeah, dude, I owe you a ton. You know that. You know how much love and respect I have for you. So for you to be here was cool, and I know that more things like this need to continue happening, and they will.
Absolutely.
I feel like I have so much more to say, and you know, I'll be live.
We have to do it more often. Yeah. That way, we don't have to be so long winded because we only.
Yes.
You know, that's how we solve that.
Yeah, no question about it, man. So my parting thoughts on the Cowboys, it's the Cowboys are setting up. This is what I forgot to get to earlier. They are setting up to reload in 2025. And I have reason to believe, which we'll discuss later, that they're preparing to actually spend in free agency. But they are not prepared to do anything at the trade deadline. They're not trading. They're not acquiring players. They are not extending coaches. They are setting up to completely restart. It's a restart and a retooling for 2025. So enjoy the ride. That's why y'all haven't seen me super frustrated or I guess outspoken against, you know, Jerry or whoever, you know, because I realized long ago what this was, man. But that's it. We'll get you guys out of here, man. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Close this thing out the way that we always do, and that is prayer changes things. The war is already won, guys. The battle may still rage on like it will for these two teams right here moving forward, but the war is already won. That's all that matters. Thank y'all. Talk to you soon.